Hello, guys, and welcome back to the FPL Duo. We're back for another stream. This is the video for transfer tips for um, double game week 26. Is it a double game week? It's not, is it?
No, I think it's a single game week.
It's a single. Yeah, sorry, my bad. I'm going to change the title very quickly because I don't know why I had it title. But yeah, welcome everyone. Welcome to the stream. If you are just joining in, please don't forget to drop a like on the video and also subscribe to the channel if you're new. How you doing, Jordan? Everything good?
Yeah, everything's good. I hope everyone is having a nice start of their week. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, we're going to get into it. Transfer tips, obviously buy, sell, hold, ignore. We're going to recommend you players that you should be looking to buy ahead of Game Week 26. Game Week 25 is still not over, as we know. Liverpool yet to play in that double, as well as Arsenal. So, more games to come, Premier League games. There is football tonight, which will, help us plan our doubles, etc. We'll find out what teams to target, etc. So, it's going to be an interesting week for FPL. But anyway, let's get into the video. So first up on the list as a buy this week is Ivan Toney. Let's take a look. 21 appearances so far this season for Toney. 14 goals, 3 assists. So he's had a very good start to the season, really. He has a very good season for Brentford. And you look at his numbers, he's the fourth highest scorer. He's actually tied with Marcus Rashford for goals with 14 apiece. So 3 assists as well. Expected goals per 90, 0.59. Expected assists per 90 as well, 0.15. So the underlying numbers are quite good for Toney. His ownership has just crept past 27%. So he's getting a bit more popular in teams. 7.6 million, still modest price. Well, most of us will be able to afford him. And you just take a look at his fixtures, especially, in that double game week 27, we know Brentford will double. So he is going to be maybe a priority signing or transfer in for a lot of managers. You take a look at game week 26, he has a nice fixture against Fulham at home. Then he had a double game week in 27, 2 away games against Everton and Southampton. So both of those fixtures look very good on paper, where you can see Toney and Brentford getting some returns. So, and then after that, in game week 28, he's got Leicester. So the next, 3 game weeks with the double looks very attractive. And I think Toney should be, on our transfer list. A lot of us have Darwin. Maybe Darwin to Toney looks like a good move in the coming weeks. What's your take on it, Jordan? Toney, Brentford. Will you be bringing Toney in yourself?
Yeah, personally, as a Toney owner, I'm a massive fan of.
Yeah, you own Toney, don't you?
Yeah, I do own Toney. I've owned him for quite a while, and yeah, he's been a great returner for points. He hasn't been consistently returning in terms of goals and assists, but he does have his moments of getting a huge, maybe double hauls of points. I mean, his last goal was against Arsenal, which was a pretty tough fixture. We expected Toney to score in, but yeah, he's one of those players that can score in big games as well as obviously games that are easy, as shown on the graphics. I mean, his double looks very good with Everton away and Southampton away. But despite the double, when Brentford did go against Everton and Southampton early on in the season, even though they won 3-0 against Southampton, Toney blanked in that fixture. And not only did he blank in the Southampton away one, Southampton at home, he also blanked in the Everton at home game, which was 1-1. So it's not to put anyone off, obviously. We're not expecting the same result from Toney not getting anything from both of those fixtures. But it's just something to keep an eye on, obviously, just because I do believe he will score in one or the other fixtures because they are pretty good. I mean, Everton have struggled this season. They have regained a bit of form. And obviously Southampton as well. They've struggled and not really gained much form. So there's always a possibility Toney obviously can do well in that fixture. And buying him early before double game in 27, if you prefer to avoid the price rises that he will definitely get up to the upcoming stages of that double game week coming up, you might want to buy him in for Fulham at home because it's still a decent fixture for Tony, and it's probably one that he could possibly score in as well. And yeah, his ownership is on the rise at 27.5%, so he is around that mark of being one of those players that can potentially hurt your rank. I imagine in the top 10k, a lot of people will be looking to buy Tony going forward into that double game in 27. And not only that, he could possibly double in 29, but that's obviously unconfirmed. But on FPL currently, it's showing as that. It does depend on the obviously other competition results on whether he has a double game week in 29. But if he indeed does, then it's more and more reason to buy Tony in early to get him for those doubles.
Yeah, I agree with there. The next few fixtures look very nice, and I think we should be looking to bring Tony in for sure. Let's move on to another player on the buy list, and that is Aston Villa's Ollie Watkins. Now, Ollie Watkins has been on a bit of a hot streak recently. I'm just going to take a look at his stats. So, look at Ollie Watkins. 8 goals so far this season, so he's doing quite well. But he does score in spurts. So he's a bit strange. Usually one of those players that he scores when you don't have him, and then when you bring him in, he blanks. And that's the type of player he's been for me so far. Since he's been in the Premier League. 23 appearances, 4 assists as well. We know he did score in the game week 25 against Everton. He also scored a goal against Arsenal. He scored against Man City. So, he scored against Leicester. He also scored against Southampton. So he has scored in his last 5 games. So a goal in every game in the last 5. He's on form. He's got good fixtures. Game week 26, he's got Palace. He's got West Ham in game week 27, and then Bournemouth in game week 28. Sorry, he also will potentially have a double game week 29. So yeah, Watkins is definitely a striker that we'll be looking at, along with players like Tony. As I said, he's got a goal in each of his 5 fixtures, previous 5, and yeah, he's picking up form. Aston Villa are playing a bit better now, scoring a few more goals with Emery in charge now, and yeah, they're looking a lot better. So the Watkins is definitely one to watch. 7.3 million as well, so similar price to Tony. I think there could be either one you can choose. But I think Watkins is obviously ownership's at 6.4%, so he's a bit more of a differential with Tony being higher owned. So maybe there's more reward to be had with buying someone like Watkins who's lower owned. Maybe he can help you shoot up the mini leagues. So yeah, I do like this move as well. So yeah, what's your take on it, Jordan? Watkins, good move?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was in split choice whether I bring him in my team from obviously game week 25. This is probably going to haunt me as one of the transfers I should have made during this season, as he did score a penalty in game week 25, which, yeah, I mean, Watkins has been great on form since Emery has surfaced at Aston Villa. I mean, he has changed the team around where Aston Villa was struggling, and now they seem more on the ball, more in control, more team play, and goal scorers as well, like Watkins. He's now getting more goals underneath Emery with 8 goals, and most of them coming from the manager Emery. It's looking on the upside for Watkins. I mean, a few of us had him last season. He did pretty good. At times, he may have been a troll for scoring when we didn't have him. But he's a player that has regained his form and is currently on a hot streak in terms of returns. And with his fixtures, Crystal Palace at home, West Ham away, and then definitely Bournemouth at home, which is a very attractable one in game week 28. He also could possibly double in 29 against Chelsea away and then Leicester at home, which is still unconfirmed. Obviously, it's still early days for that. But if he is to double up and you have him at this before double game week 29, you're in a good position because a lot of people won't be looking at Watkins as a buy in this game week. So you could possibly jump on him early and see what happens with him, obviously in that double. But his fixtures before that, I'll say they're pretty good for Watkins. And with his low ownership at 6.4%, he's definitely a bargain in terms of you'll gain a lot of ranks if he does get anything from any of those matches. And just because of his ownership being so low, no one owns him. And I think if you jump the gun early, if you haven't already, then I feel like he's going to be a really good buy for you in the long term run.
Okay, let's move on to some players that we think you could be looking to get rid of, and these are players that we think you could potentially be looking to sell. First one on the list is actually a player I own, and that is Riyad Mahrez. We know Riyad Mahrez was actually benched in the last game in game week 25. It was a doubt, there was a risk with Mahrez going into that game in game week 25. I can't remember who was it against at the top of my head. Who did Man City play again? That just went. It was Bournemouth, wasn't it? Yeah, they beat Bournemouth 4-1 away. Mahrez came on for the last 18 minutes, and yeah, but we know Mahrez has been really good so far this season, especially post World Cup. 5 goals, 4 assists. Numbers are pretty good. He's been one of Man City's better players, as I think. Expected goals per 90, 0.39. We know he is a rotation risk, especially after Champions League games. So, he is a potential sell, mainly because of double game week 27, which is upcoming. And as we mentioned, with Brentford, Brighton, also another team that have a double game week, and maybe Mahrez to someone like a Mitoma, who has a double, or a Solly March, or a McAllister, is a smart way to go. Obviously, I expect Mahrez to actually start in that Newcastle game in 26, but I would still be tempted to remove him for a player that has a double. So that's the thinking behind selling Mahrez. You'd rather get in like a McAllister or a Solly March or a Mitoma rather than hold Mahrez, who's only got single game weeks now until, the next few weeks. So that's the thinking behind Mahrez. I probably will be selling him for someone like Mitoma. But you'll have to see my transfer plans on Thursday before I confirm and see what I'm going to do. You pretty much agree on that, obviously, on Mahrez after his benching, maybe selling him to like a Brighton midfielder.
Yeah, absolutely. If I had Mahrez, I'd probably be doing that exact move of moving him over to a potential double game week player like Mitoma or Jensen or someone like that in my team. I feel like it's a bit of a risk because you have to be like a fortune teller to know if Mahrez is actually going to play each game as game weeks come along. I mean, he could play 10 minutes in one game or 60 minutes in another. It's not really entirely nailed on who starts in the midfield for Man City, as Mahrez is one of them. Especially it shows 7 of his appearances are off the bench, so he isn't a player that always starts, obviously, in Man City. And his 5 goals and 4 assists as well. I'll say underlining for midfielder, despite Mahrez having his spurts of greatness. If you did own him at the right time, he's one of those players that you take a risk on, and you have to be very fortunate to get a gain from the risk, obviously, because this is a massive risk for Mahrez, as there's not telling whether Pep will play him or not in that Newcastle at home one or the Crystal Palace away one. It's just a roll of the dice. So yeah, it's better to go with a double game week player who you know is going to play 180 minutes and obviously plays the extra fixture over Mahrez, who only has a single.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I pretty much agree with everything you said. So let's move on to another player that we think we could be selling, and that is Mitrovic, another player that I actually own as well. We know Mitrovic did miss out in the previous game where he didn't start. He wasn't in the matchday squad, I believe. So yeah. Sorry, I don't own Mitrovic. I sold Mitrovic, didn't I, for Darwin? But I did used to have Mitrovic, so I thought I'd put him on the list anyway. After his benching, so 19 appearances, 11 goals, so he's having a really good season anyway. So far, Fulham have been playing a lot better this season, and a lot of that is due to Mitrovic getting the goals for them. And looking at his underlying numbers, 0.67 is still very good. It's still, very high compared to forwards in the Premier League. But you take a look at his next 3 games: Brentford away, Arsenal at home, Liverpool away. These are some tough games potentially for Fulham and Mitrovic. So I think he could be an easy sell. I think a lot of us have already sold him, but his ownership is still at 19%. So, he's still owned by a fair few managers. But someone like Mitrovic to Tony, Mitrovic to Watkins, I think look like easy moves. So if you do have Mitrovic, I think now is probably the time. He's been a bit frustrating recently. I think he had a few blanks. He's been injured as well. He obviously didn't feature in the last game, so a bit frustrating recently. But overall, I still think he's been a good asset so far this season. Overall, if you held him from early, but I think it is time to let Mitrovic go with the fixes coming up and no double. So yeah, I'd be selling him. Jordan, would you agree, or what's your take on it?
Yeah, I think Mitrovic is an easy sell. I mean, he's had some troubles with injury in the past few game weeks where we weren't sure whether he was going to start or play, as he was flagged, and that may hinder him going forward, especially with the hard fixtures Fulham have coming up, especially the Arsenal home and Liverpool away. I feel like that for Fulham is going to be really tough for them and for Mitrovic to score in those fixtures, even though he has scored against Arsenal previously. But I think now this ain't the Mitrovic that did score against Arsenal that we're seeing now. Obviously, he has dropped off of form. He hasn't really equalised on his 11 goals for a while now, and only having one assist. Even though he's done the best in the Premier League by far in a while, his numbers have dried up a bit. And it's about that time where if your asset is not getting any returns for a long period of time, then it is time to sell him. And I think Mitrovic is the one, especially with the doubles coming up, and him being not one of them, and only having a single game fixture, which is one of the hardest in 27 as well. I feel like Mitrovic is an easy swing to sell for potentially a double game week player or another player that has easier fixtures in the long run.
Yeah, pretty much agree with there with Mitrovic. I've sold him myself from my team, so I'd recommend others to sell him as well. But yeah, let's move on to some players that we think we should be holding on to now. Who's up first? And that is Martinelli. Now, he's actually been sold by a lot of managers in FPL. His ownership has dropped to 33%. I think it was a lot higher than that previously, maybe touching 50%, I believe, at one point, if I'm not mistaken. Martinelli does have 9 goals in 24 appearances. Taking a look at his numbers, his underlying numbers aren't too bad. 0.27 expected goals per 90, 0.24 expected assists per 90 as well. I actually own Martinelli myself. I was very happy to see him start in that game against Leicester because there was rumours potentially he could get benched again, but it was Nketiah who was actually benched this time, and Martinelli played through the middle. We know Martinelli did score, and he did get a 10-pointer against Leicester, and he's still yet to play again, obviously on the fixture against Everton coming up in the double. So Martinelli, for me, I will still be looking to hold him. I think he's good value for money at 6.5 million. There is that worry that he could miss out the odd game, especially when Jesus is back. Maybe he becomes a sell then. But for now, I think he's still a hold because I think a lot of us have transfers, and they're precious right now, and we want to use them to bring in other players. So if you already have Martinelli, like me, you probably just rather just keep him now rather than transfer him out. He has, scored against Villa as well, obviously coming off the bench, getting that last minute goal because of Martinez just coming out the box, and then he obviously had a little tap in, and then against Leicester. So 2 goals now in 2 games for Martinelli, and he's got good fixtures coming up, as you can see. Obviously, in 26, he plays Bournemouth at home, then he's got Fulham, and then he's got back-to-back home games against Palace and Leeds, and the next 4 look great. Hopefully, he can get game time. And as a Martinelli owner myself, I'm looking forward to holding him. And we just have to wait and see what happens with Jesus. If he's back, then maybe those plans change. But for now, I think he's a hold. Obviously, what do you think, Jordan?
Yeah, as much as Martinelli being very frustrating for scoring back-to-back goals after we've already transferred him out previously, for those who did keep the faith and hold on to Martinelli, I'd say probably well done to you, because he's definitely a player you want to hold on, especially with the back-to-back returns that he's had against Leicester and then Aston Villa. He seems to have regained a bit of more, a little bit more form, but also a little bit more fortune, especially for the Aston Villa one being the tapping. But the Leicester goal was really important for Arsenal. It was the only goal that was scored in that game, which led to Arsenal winning 1-0, and that came from Martinelli. So I think he is also still a key asset that Arsenal need to have in games like that, because if he weren't to score in that game, Arsenal could have potentially drew, and then obviously that would have affected the title race for Arsenal against Man City currently. So yeah, Martinelli is definitely one of those important key players you probably want to hold on to, especially with his back-to-back returns. I don't think you'd want to get rid of him, especially after he's had 2 returns after the massive blank he had previously. Uh, you just have to see, especially with Bournemouth at home next, that's a pretty good fixture where any Arsenal player could potentially score in that, and Martinelli is definitely being one of them. And after that game, you got Fulham away, which is a nice game, Crystal Palace at home, and then another home fixture against Leeds. So there's 4 green fixtures for Arsenal coming up. And yeah, there's all the more reason why Martinelli can't get something for, I'll say, probably 3 out of the 4 in those green fixtures. I mean, he's also an assistant player as well. He does get assists with 2 there already for him. And with 9 goals, he's scored pretty good goals as well for the team. So yeah, I think Martinez is definitely a hold, definitely for the fixture, obviously in game week 26. For a single game week player, his ownership is high, and yeah, he's one of those players that can affect your rank if you don't have Martinelli already.
Let's move on to another hold, and that is Mo Salah, who is being transferred out by a few managers after his blank against Palace. Salah has a fixture yet to come, actually, against obviously Wolves. He's going to play Wolves in game week 20, double game week 25, and then he's got Manchester United in game week 26. But I still think Salah could be a hold, guys. I know this could easily be a sell as well, because obviously a lot of money at 12.7 million. He's only got 8 goals so far this season, which is obviously quite low for his standards in previous seasons. 8 assists, 8 goals, 5 assists. Expected goals per 90 is 0.46, which is actually pretty decent. He's getting into a few chances, and we saw him hit the crossbar in the last game. But other than that, he didn't really have too many chances in big chances anyway. He should have maybe had an assist for Gakpo. But the fixtures, they don't look the best. He's got Manchester United next at home. We know in the previous game against Man United last season, he did score a hat-trick. Obviously, that would be a surprise if he could do that again with the form Liverpool in at the moment. But I still think Salah could be a decent returner. And the reason why I've put him as a hold is because he could potentially double in game week 28, is it? I'm sorry, 29. Because if Leeds and Fulham do play tonight, and depending on the results, Liverpool will double again. So that's my thinking about Salah. If Liverpool don't double, then he becomes an easier sell. But if Liverpool do have a double, and that's confirmed after tonight, then I would be leaning more towards holding him. But I can see why some people would want to get rid, just due to his form, Liverpool's form, and the fact that he's only got 8 goals. And compared to his price, obviously at 12.7 million. So that's what the thinking is in regards to holding Salah. We're gonna keep an eye out on that Fulham Leeds game, and then I think that will make it easier. But for now, he is a hold. What's your thoughts on Salah? I know you brought him into your free hit team.
Yeah, I mean, Salah's been a frustrating and difficult player to consider in your teams. Obviously, Liverpool aren't the same team that we saw last season, where they were on for the quadruple and basically potentially going to win every trophy in each competition. But this season is a completely different story. I mean, they're pretty much out of every competition, and pretty much what really there's left to play for is getting top 4 in the Premier League. So there isn't really much to play for Liverpool in general, but because of that, Salah hasn't had the greatest of seasons with 8 goals and 5 assists. That's pretty low considering what he had last season in statistics. But there's always a potential still to hold Salah and see what he can do. Obviously, he has Man United at home, which, as a Man United fan, that is not the greatest fixture for us, as we have a very poor record at Anfield against Liverpool. Despite the form Liverpool may be in, it's just a weird fixture where Liverpool can still do well, despite them not really showing it this season. And potentially Salah could be the the one to score a goal against Man United. It wouldn't surprise me at all. It is one of those funny fixtures which some say would be superstitious. But yeah, it is a home fixture nonetheless, and it's a great one. And then after that, he's got Bournemouth away, which we all know Bournemouth have conceded a lot of goals, and they've been performing really badly as a newly promoted team, and look like they're in trouble. So again, it's another fixture where you can see Salah potentially scored in that one. I think Liverpool did score 9-0 against Bournemouth,
Yeah.
and Salah somehow still blanked in that one, which was quite a surprise to many. But yeah, I mean, it could be a different story this time round for Bournemouth away, and Salah could get another goal in that one. And then after that, he's got Fulham at home, which a green fixture for Liverpool, where again Salah could be the main frontal point for that. And especially with Nunez with his shoulder injuries, not knowing whether he's gonna be playing much football
I
with
think he's
Salah.
back in
So
training. I think Klopp did say he's back in training today. So I don't know if he's going to start tomorrow. Is it Liverpool? So we'll have to see. But yeah.
yeah, we'll have to see because as Liverpool players do return, they play one match and then get injured again. So we always have to keep a watch out for that.
Mhm.
And then you've got a double game at 29, which isn't confirmed yet. Well, obviously, we'll find out what the results are when Fulham play tonight, whether that is confirmed or not. But it is a tough one with Man City and Chelsea away. But you might want to hold on to Salah for that. You never know. These hard fixtures have brought surprises to players that have scored in them. So I don't see why you wouldn't want to hold Salah for that. And then obviously Arsenal at home in the last fixture, which could be it's a very interesting one. But again, yeah,
Mhm.
you just never know. Salah could be a hold for you long term run for those who do have him.
Yeah, let's move on to some players that we think you could be looking to ignore. Now, these are probably players that managers are transferring in a lot, but we think you could still, hold off for a while longer. First up is Phil Foden, who is on the ignore list for this game week. Phil Foden has actually been transferred in by quite a few managers. Is a popular move this week. 8.8% now his ownership. I think obviously a lot of managers are bringing him in after his goal in the previous game week against Bournemouth. He did have a good performance. He did get a 13-pointer against Bournemouth as well. Obviously, goal and the assist and the 3 bonus points. But we've seen with Foden and Man City and the way Pep likes to rotate, you wouldn't be surprised if Foden missed Palace or West Ham in the next couple game weeks, just the way Man City are. Mahrez could easily come in and then Foden will be dropped to the bench. So he is a rotation risk still, in my opinion. 8 goals, 4 assists, still a decent number for the amount of games he's played, especially coming off the bench 7 times. Fixtures, as I said, do look good, but beware when you do buy Man City assets. Players like Foden, Gundogan, etc. They're always one bad game away from a benching. So that's the worry about bringing him in. We know when Foden plays, high upside player, could get you a double-digit return easily, but can also get benched after one bad or, semi-bad performance in Pep's eyes. So, yeah, do watch out on the rotation risk with Foden. But other than that, yeah, that's the worry with Man City assets right now. Apart from Edison, Haaland, no one's really nailed to play. I think so. There's that worry. If you have a decent bench, then maybe you do take the risk. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean it's not really the right time to bring in a Man City midfielder like Foden, as we all know he's not all the nailed midfielder to play in most of these games. And because of the double as well in 27 and potentially in 29, you don't want Foden for Crystal Palace away in a single game fixture and Liverpool at home in 29, where there could be potentially more doubles to come along. I think it is definitely the wrong time to bring in like a Foden, yeah, especially with his minutes not being 90 as well. Just not knowing what Pet's thinking or who he's going to play each game week. Obviously, in terms of midfield, it can swap easily. And yeah, Foden, I'll say, is probably an easy ignore, even though he scored that nice 13 pointer
Mhm.
against Bournemouth. It's not going to happen every week for him and potentially may not happen for a couple of game weeks.
Yeah, the thing with Foden, I think he's a great pick if he plays, but there's games where he would just be benched, and you'll be annoyed. Like we saw with Mahrez being benched this week. That could be Foden like next week. Moving on to the final player on the list as an ignore, and that is Zinchenko, another player that's been transferred in by FPL managers. 17 appearances so far, 1 goal, 1 assist. I think he did get his first goal for Arsenal in that win against Aston Villa a couple game weeks ago now. Or was it last game week? But yeah, Zinchenko, he's 5.1 million. Ownership's, just above 10.8%. Fixtures look nice, don't get me wrong. Bournemouth, Fulham, Palace, and then Leeds in the next 4. But I think maybe people are jumping the gun too early on this one. He did get a 7-pointer against Leicester, got the 1 bonus point. He also got a 7-pointer against Aston Villa. So back-to-back 7-pointers for him in 2 game weeks, due to his goal, obviously, as well. But Arsenal haven't been keeping the most amount of clean sheets. Obviously, Leicester was their first clean sheet, I believe, in I think 5 game weeks. So 6 game weeks, 1 assist for Arsenal so far. So they are leaking a bit more goals. And I still think if I was going for an Arsenal defender, I still would prefer Gabriel, I think. And I'd prefer players like Saka, Odegaard, Martinelli, and Ketia over the defense. But saying that, you could foresee some clean sheets in the next 3 or 4 games. But I think Gabriel might be the better pick than Zinchenko, because obviously there's potentially maybe where he misses out 1 game, etc. But yeah, he's an ignore for us due to obviously a lot of managers bringing him in. And for the purpose of this video, we had to select someone that we think you could go without this game week, and there's no rush to bringing him in. What's your take on it?
Yeah, as much as I like Zinchenko, definitely at the start of the season when he did get that 12-pointer, I feel like throughout the whole season, especially from injury as well, that he sustained, he's become, I'll say, less favourable, even though Arsenal have been really good this season. Currently, they have leaked, as we said, a lot of goals and many clean sheets coming from Arsenal recently, and I feel like we'd rather go with attacking Arsenal assets rather than going for a defender, which personally I did. I went with Ben White, but then I transferred him out for someone else, as I did prefer to go without any Arsenal defenders, just because of their clean sheet record being a bit less frequent. And Zinchenko, which this does come as a surprise. I mean, he did score that nice goal against Aston Villa, but he's not going to do that every game week. I mean, that's his first goal for, I think, Arsenal as well. So he's not going to be the biggest goal scorer in terms of defender, or like compared to Gabriel, where he is dangerous on headers. With Zinchenko, he can be in the right place at the right time and maybe potentially have shots towards goal. But again, that's not a really it's not really something that's going to happen every game week for him. Maybe Bournemouth at home might be more freedom for him, but other than that, I don't really see much from Zinchenko other than a clean sheet, as he only got that 1 assist from game week 1 as well. So it's been since now that 1 assist, and since then nothing from Zinchenko apart from obviously clean sheets. So yeah, it's probably an easy ignore, I would say, to not bring in Zinchenko.
Okay, let's quickly recap all the players then for game week 26 and beyond. So you should buy Tony and Watkins. You should be looking to sell Mahrez and Mitrovic. You should hold on to Martinelli and Mo Salah, and you should ignore Phil Foden and Zinchenko. So those are the 8 players we've picked. Let us know what you think, guys, in the comments below. We are going to read all your comments out. We've not been ignoring any of you. We just like to wait and do the comments at the end. So if you are still here in the chat, make sure you do drop a like. It really helps to support the channel. Also, if you aren't already, make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel as well. We're on our road to 800 subscribers. So please subscribe and like the stream if you're enjoying it. Tony or Embuemo says this one what's your thoughts? Because obviously I've seen a comment here say Tony pleaded guilty about an hour ago. I don't know how true this is, because obviously I've not seen any news. So I've just literally jumped on the stream. So it looks like obviously Tony, we've spoke a lot about Tony, and it says, about an hour ago, Tony has pleaded guilty to many of the 262 charges against him of the FA betting rules. He is expected to begin serving a lengthy ban before the end of the campaign. So nothing is exactly confirmed, but he has admitted the breaches, but there's been no punishment or anything. So for now, he is still a buy. But obviously, if the news comes out that he's going to miss 10 games, 12 games, then he's obviously in a void. So Mbuemo is definitely a better option if we find out, it's a 10-game ban or 15-game ban, whatever he gets. I'm just speculating right now. But if Tony is fit to play in the next few games, I think Tony is the better option, definitely over Mbuemo. But that changes things massively over here. This news, we didn't realize until we came on the stream. So obviously everything changes so quickly in FPL now. So yeah, he's an ignore. Tony could go from to a buy to an ignore very quickly. But I think we'll have to wait and see in regards to what punishment he gets, and we hopefully we do hear that very soon. Because we don't like the doubt. We rather know, so we know which one to go for. Because I know a lot of managers have already transferred in Tony early. I think about 100,000 managers, and obviously if Tony does get banned, they'll have to take another hit potentially to remove him, which is probably annoying. Do you want to take this one, Jordan? Mitoma or Solly March?
Well, I'll probably say Mitoma being the better option, only because Solly March did pick up like a slight. It's not a serious injury, but he won't be playing in the FA Cup match that Brighton do have. He will be missing that, so I wouldn't be jumping on Solly March right away. I'll probably wait and see what sort of what's the word? What status he's in leading up to obviously game week 20.
He's currently flagged, isn't he, on FPL?
I think he is. I think he is currently yellow flagged. Yes, so I'll probably go for Mitoma.
Yeah, I think Solly March is flagged with a 75% chance, I think, of playing because he's carrying a knock. But even regardless of that, I think I still prefer Mitoma. But I do like March if he's fit, because obviously he's lower owned than Solly March. So he's a bit more of a differential. Just taking a look at his ownership, Solly March is 5.7%. Compare that to Mitoma. What is Mitoma's ownership? So I'm just going to quickly check. Mitoma 11%. So to be fair, it's not that high compared to Solly March. Either is a good pick, but I do prefer Mitoma myself. So that's what I can see myself going, just because when I watch him this season, just purely eye test, he does cause fullbacks a lot of trouble, and yeah, he's an exciting player to watch. So I think I'd be going Mitoma for sure. Dan's in the chat. So evening, guys. Evening to you, Dan.
Evening, Dan.
Should I sell Nketiah to bring in Tony? Says I can't pronounce your name, so I'm not gonna try to butcher it. But yeah, should you sell Nketiah to bring Tony in? Yes, if Tony obviously isn't banned. We don't know his punishment, as we said. But assuming Tony's fine and he doesn't get a ban yet, then yeah, I think it could be a good move, because Nketiah we've seen has now been benched in the previous game week. So we don't know how likely he is to get benched going forward. Obviously, he could come straight back in, like Martinelli. Martinelli got benched for one game, he's back in. But Nketiah has, some of his goals have dried up slightly. Ever since he scored the 2 goals against Man United, he's not scored. He's missed a few big chances as well. So maybe, especially with Martinelli's goal, Arteta decides to stick with Martinelli up front for now until, as Alex says, Jesus is back. And it looks like he's back in full training. So I think Nketiah could be a sell, guys, because with Jesus coming back and his benching on the weekend with Martinelli and Trossard preferred, if I had Nketiah, I probably would be looking to get rid of him personally. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Mahrez to Rashford, Jordan, is a good move.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have Rashford already, I mean, definitely want to bring him in now, because you missed out on a lot of points from him, and his ownership is above 50%. So I imagine he's done a lot of damage to your rank if you don't own Rashford at the moment. So yeah, it's definitely a good move.
Yeah, I think that's definitely, if you don't have Rashford by now, then that's like not having Trippier at the start. When I obviously didn't have him, and he just hurt my rank every week. I think Salah double is 100%. Okay, there you go from Alex. If it's Fulham win, then Salah blanks in 28, but the double is 100% whatever happens. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, obviously it was 28 as well, where Salah could blank. And if he does, then he becomes an easier sell, of course. My team: Kepa, Trent, Robertson, Tarkowski, Saka, Odegaard, Salah, Mahrez, Watkins, and Nketiah. What is the most urgent to improve my team for game week 26? Maybe someone like Mahrez out, potentially, to a Brighton midfielder, like a March, like a Mitoma, even a McAllister. I'd say that. Do you have any suggestions, Jordan, for a transfer for this team?
I mean, you have to Silva. That's the I think the Brentford
Yeah.
midfielder. So I'll probably say Brighton midfielder like Matoma or McAllister. I mean, McAllister could be a good pick because he's on penalties for Brighton, so he's another, I imagine, low differential pick that hasn't been really chosen by many people in terms of ownership.
Is Ollie Watkins the only Villa asset to go for? I mean, I have Tyrone Mings in my team, but that was more of a short-term move. But for me, I think probably wouldn't want to spread to other players right now. I think Ollie Watkins probably is the key asset I'd want from Villa if I was looking. I'm not sure about other players in their team. You know, there was, of course, what's his name now? Bailey. It was Leon Bailey, wasn't there? But how many games is he going to get? I'm just looking at his previous minutes. He did play 60 minutes against Everton. He played 23 minutes against Arsenal. Played 60 minutes against Man City. So he does come off after usually 60 minutes. So as of now, I think probably Ollie Watkins is probably the only Villa asset I'd look to target. Even though I do have Mings, as I said, but that was more to cover the blank in 25. So let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Do you think there's other assets that we should be targeting at Villa, or is Ollie Watkins the main one that you'll be looking at? And finally, Alex says, there is such a lack of defenders that I think an Arsenal defender is a great option, especially with Jesus coming back, kind of stopping us from going triple Arsenal attack because of rotation. Yeah, I think, as I said, I think Gabriel is still a good pick. If I was picking an Arsenal defender, I would go Gabriel due to being nailed pretty much, playing every game, and the fact that he's a bit of statistically, he is a bit of a goal threat compared to the other defenders. And yeah, so I'd go Gabriel. But obviously I've got Ben White. I think he's a good pick as well. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens with Jesus coming back. Does it improve Arsenal defensively? Because obviously he had a long layoff, so it's going to be interesting to see how he comes back, how sharp he is, how fit he is, because he was out for a while. So we'll see. We'll obviously discuss that in detail when he is back into the team and how it changes Arsenal's options going forward. When are you guys planning to wildcard? So yeah, good question. I think we'll probably know better on Wednesday, Thursday. Literally, after these FA Cup games are over, I think I'd get a clearer idea when to do it, because I want to know who blanks, who doubles, and when I see the confirmed fixtures, that's when I like to decide. I don't want to decide yet because it's still too early. There's too many ifs and buts with fixtures, and when everything's confirmed, that's when we know how our team looks and if we need to take a hit or whatever, if we need to wild card, if we need to play chips, etc. And I think wait till the FA Cup games, guys, because obviously there is FA Cup fixtures tonight. There's a few FA Cup games involving Premier League teams. So Brighton play Stoke. That's already kicked off, actually. So there's about 27 minutes in, 0-0. Leicester have just kicked off about 10 minutes ago to Blackburn. So Leicester is 0-0. Fulham actually kick off in about 2 minutes to Leeds. That's one to watch, obviously, in regards to Liverpool. And Bristol are playing Man City at home at 8 p.m. So we're going to wrap the stream up because there's football on. So I'll let you guys maybe go watch a bit of the FA Cup. And yeah, we're going to be back again on Thursday for another stream for the team selection, as always. So make sure you are tuned in 7 p.m. UK time on a Thursday where we discuss transfers, maybe even a wild card. Who knows, as I've not completely ruled it out. So yeah, that's the plan. And then, yeah, we'll be back Saturday, I think, for the deadline stream. So yeah, that's it from us, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video, the stream. If you have, make sure, as always, drop a like on it. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, the FPL Duo. We've got a lot of content to come out. So yeah, don't miss out by subscribing and hitting that notification bell. Anything else you'd like to add, Jordan, before we do wrap the stream up?
Thank you for watching, guys. Always appreciate it, and your questions as well. Enjoy the football. Obviously, the FA Cup, spoken about the fixtures, and yeah, take care. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you on Thursday for the team selection.
Yep, take care, guys. See you soon.